process enough. We need to go find a leader.
But you just heard Nancy Mace right there. She just said Jim Jordan wasn't playing. She was one of the 8 who voted to oust Kevin McCarthy. What do you say to her?
Well, let's be clear. Nancy Mace, it's been a long time since she's done anything productive to move forward this broader team. America's got real problems. And this is a time where we need people who are interested in problem solving, not self-aggrandizement. And it's frustrating.
So that's a Republican right there, Dusty Johnson, saying that his colleague, MAGA Republican Nancy Mace, is all about self-aggrandizement. She doesn't do anything productive. That's a Republican. Let's talk to a Democrat. Not just any Democrat. Let's talk to the Democrat running against MAGA Republican Nancy Mace, Michael B. Moore from South Carolina, the Democratic candidate from South Carolina's 1st Congressional District. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's an honor. Great to be here.
So you're running against Nancy Mace. Nancy Mace on the MAGA Republican side. Her views have seemed to evolve where she was at first acting like she was a moderate, and then she'll say things like she supports women's reproductive rights, but then she just supported MAGA Mike Johnson as the Speaker of the House, who wants no exceptions, total nationwide abortion bans. So as you kind of size up this race, what were your evaluations about just Nancy Mace's behavior? Is this always who Nancy Mace was? Is this what MAGA does to you? I mean, what are we watching?
Well, it's a great question. I think there are lots of folks down here in the 1st Congressional District of South Carolina who are wondering who is the real Nancy Mace. On the one hand, we hear lots of things that she is trying to present herself as a more moderate person, criticizing her party, for example, around women's reproductive freedom, around abortion, but yet she was a co-sponsor of a 6-week abortion ban, has voted against allowing women in the military to access women's reproductive services. So, yeah, I mean, I think she is trying to dance a dance, give a little bit of something to everybody and hope that, she kind of slides under the radar. But apparently, she also may be, I don't know, trying to be vice president or trying to, get a job on Fox News. Like, who knows? But I think it's really clear. I mean, from my vantage point, there's not a lot that Republicans and Democrats can agree on now, but they both agree that Nancy Mace is way too extreme, certainly too extreme for this district.
That's why I wanted to show that clip at the outset so our viewers can see they're not just only going to hear this from the Democratic candidate running against her. This is what her own party is saying about her. And look, the 1st Congressional District of South Carolina, frankly, all South Carolina, is proud people, people with a great deal of pride in the state, tradition, history, with a great deal of dignity and decency. And so when you see people who are kind of just making a mockery of it and the kind of buffoonery and clownishness, to me, that transcends political party and ideology. It just, I wonder if people from the 1st Congressional District look at stunts like this and go, oh, what's going on here? This is Nancy Mace during the whole debacle where MAGA Republicans ousted the Speaker only to get MAGA Mike. And here she is wearing a scarlet letter and saying it's because Kevin McCarthy was repressing her as a woman. Here, play this clip.
I'm wearing the scarlet letter after the week that I just had last week, being a woman up here and being demonized for my vote and for my voice. I'm here to let the rest of the world know and the country know I'm on the side of the people. I'm not on the side of the establishment, and I'm going to do the right thing every single time, no matter the consequences, because I don't answer to anybody in D.C. I don't answer to anyone in Washington. I only answer to the people.
Right, you've got a legacy in South Carolina. Your family's from South Carolina. You're a businessman from South Carolina. I don't. To me, it isn't like, oh, you liberal, progressive, conservative. I look at that and I go, what were we watching?
Yeah, I mean, it's political theater, frankly, and to be honest, it's offensive. It's playing the people in South Carolina and the people around the country. It's playing us for fools. And and look, I'm out campaigning every day. I talk to people who have real needs, people who are looking for help in putting food on the table. They're looking for help in managing really the minefield that is the healthcare system. There are people who live on the coastlines and have heard the research that says that by 2100, that millions of people are going to need to be relocated because of sea level rise. I'm hearing from people who have been affected by gun violence and know that there are some things that we can do to both respect the Second Amendment, but also do some real common sense things to help protect our communities and protect our children. So, I hear, and perhaps above them all, because of the way that she has dealt with women, I hear from women who just are just deeply offended by the okie doke that she's trying to pull on America and absolutely on the people of the first district.
Well, it's not new news that the first district, its boundaries have evolved and changed, and it's been the subject of Supreme Court oral arguments quite recently as well. And you had a situation where Nancy Mace squeaked by when she first ran. By the way, when she was in the legislature, there were red flags being raised as well about her behavior that was ignored. And there was some good local media reporting that we've covered here on the MeidasTouch network. But she squeaked by a few thousand votes the first time she ran. Then after some redistricting, it was a bit of a safer district, if you will, for her, which is kind of the status quo right now if you look at it from kind of the sheer old school political thinking about what a district looks like. Heck, I mean, it's clear what the intent behind this is, but like, how do you transcend that? What's kind of your plan to reach out and to kind of go against what happened the last time, where her numbers actually, increased, but she was also again presenting herself as a different candidate then as well?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those relatively rare swing districts where the outcome is really in some question, and a Democrat winning could really materially impact who becomes the next speaker. So yeah, we when I looked at this race, it was meaningful to me from a number of different vantage points. First, from the standpoint of family history. I come from a long line of folks who have served in South Carolina, served in elected office going back to 1868, when my great-great-grandfather was a guy named Robert Smalls, who made a little bit of history in the Civil War, was first elected to the South Carolina legislature before then going and serving 5 terms in Congress. But the interesting thing is that in effect, I am now serving, or I am seeking to serve in the same seat that he served in back in the 1870s and 80s. So it just gives a real sense of urgency and sort of importance, this whole notion of legacy. And look, the last time, you're absolutely right. I mean, Nancy just barely got in the first time. They gerrymandered the district. They took out 30,000 votes, and she won by 38,000 votes. But last cycle, there were 30,000 hardcore Democrats who just didn't show up to the polls. There were, 6 figures, over 100,000 persuadables, people who, decide, they're undecided. They decide based upon the candidate, based upon the issue. We're going to build a really strong grassroots field organization that goes out. We're going to knock on doors. We're going to register voters. We're going to have meaningful conversations with people on their front porches. And we're going to talk to them about our vision. We're going to listen to them about the things that are important to them. And we think that that's really the key to flipping this district. I hear every day in relatively small numbers at this stage, but I hear people just say, hey, we're tired of business as usual. We're tired of the way Washington doesn't work for them. They are looking at, a very complicated sort of family situation in terms of their jobs, in terms of Social Security and Medicare that, of course, Republicans are trying to cut. They look at the healthcare system. They look at all these really significant issues, and they see Nancy Mace and others just sort of playing games. And so, I'm a business guy. I've got really a common sense kind of an approach to things. I just want to get something done on behalf of the people in the first district, on behalf of the American people. And so we are rolling up our sleeves, and we're talking to folks, and we are doing what we can to flip this seat. I will just say we got in early because we knew, Nancy Mace is a good politician. She's on national news every week. And so it's going to take a lot to defeat that. And the first quarter of our campaign, we raised more money than any other non-incumbent in the history of the district at that stage. And, continuing to build on that. So we're feeling good. We're getting good feedback. And we just know it's an uphill battle. We know we're an underdog. But I think we've got what it takes to pull this off.
That's why I think 2024 is the get shit done election cycle. We've spoken to Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania, who is so popular, not just among Democrats and independents, but also a lot of Republicans who are like, he gets shit done. And you talk about business as usual with these kind of MAGA Republican politicians. I think the issue is also that it's also business as unusual. Like the behavior is just objectively unbecoming of our great nation and our Constitution. And I think people were willing to kind of give that a little bit of a chance and see like, oh, right, is that kind of different? Is that and it's actually a worse version of what the people claimed that they were going to try to fix, done in a way that makes a mockery of our great country. So I want to conclude by getting into the issues though, and the vision, and not the performative BS that we're seeing Nancy Mace do when she shows up on the Steve Bannon show. On the one hand, she voted to hold Steve Bannon in contempt. On the other hand, she's now fundraising with Matt Gaetz on the Steve Bannon show after calling Matt Gaetz a total fraud. I don't know how you can trust somebody who does that. It's so weird. But let's talk about vision for South Carolina's first congressional district. When you walk around, when you shake hands, when you talk to people at the shopping centers, at the malls, at the libraries, the bookstore, what are people at the town center? What are people talking about to you?
Well, people are concerned. Again, I think, one of the things, I've got a business background, and I am looking to leverage that background to really help average, South Carolinians, average Americans to do better, to maybe have access to better paying jobs, to try to figure out how to make the economy a bit more inclusive. During the couple of years of the COVID period, the top 1% created twice as much wealth as the rest of the 99% combined. And look, again, I appreciate the opportunity that business provides, but that just is indicative of a really fundamental imbalance. And we're working to make the economy much more inclusive, where people can, take advantage of their hard work, of their ingenuity, of what they bring and the value that they bring to the economy. Again, the healthcare issue is such a big problem. I mean, it's the number one cause of bankruptcy in America. There are 110 million Americans that are mired down in healthcare debt. I talk to people all the time, some of whom their parents perhaps can't afford all of the prescription drugs. So 1 month they get half of the drugs, the next month they get the other half. And that obviously is not a prescription for good health. Women's reproductive freedom, that continues to be an important issue. It seems rather medieval, frankly, to me, that a woman doesn't have the right to make her own decisions about her body. But we take it even further. I believe in the Equal Rights Amendment. I believe in pay equity. I believe in a whole host of things to support mothers in their roles, whether it's mothers in need with Medicaid and SNAP, whether it's, trying to get them access to affordable childcare in appropriate ways. The environment is really important. I've got a 4-month-old granddaughter. By 2100, there's all these, just horrific kinds of projections about the sea lines. We're a coastal district. And so, we need to get serious about that. Gun violence, I mentioned that's a big issue. But the other thing I would just say is, we have a real optimistic perspective. I just believe that it might be kind of a trite point of view, but I do believe that America's best days are ahead of it. And I also believe deeply in the power of the Democratic Party agenda. When I look at, let's say, the economy, clearly, unless you are a 1%er and you just don't care about other human beings, Democrats are going to be better on the economy because we're fighting to get people better jobs. We're supporting labor in their effort to protect workers' rights. Unless you just don't think you're going to have to access the healthcare system, Democrats are the ones that are out fighting for more affordable prescription drugs and fighting for better services, more affordable services through the hospital system. 90% of our kids go to public schools. In this state, at least, and I know in many others, we're fighting these ridiculous fights about banning books and Moms with Liberty and all that kind of stuff. Unless you think that you just are not going to be among the 90%, who are going to need public education, Democrats are better on public education. Democrats are better on women's reproductive freedom. Obviously, we are fighting to preserve and protect those freedoms. Democrats are better on gun safety. I mean, clearly, we are not beholden to the NRA in the way certainly that Republicans are, and fighting for our communities and fighting for our children. Frankly, the number one cause of death among young people is gun violence. And then just, as you mentioned, I mean, we are fighting for the principles of democracy themselves that our founders, came out with. I gave a speech on the steps of the Supreme Court on October 11th, the day when the oral arguments for the gerrymandering case for our district, began. But I talked broadly about the importance that we just can't take advantage or take democracy for granted anymore. We've got to, all of us, understand that we all have a role to fight for our democratic principles, our democratic institutions, and in the instance of the first congressional district, the principle of one person, one vote, which I thought was fairly universal in the way that it was embraced. So there's a lot of work to be done. We have a real optimistic, positive view about things. We're working hard. People are really, I think, resonating with this kind of, we call our area of South Carolina the low country. I've got like a real kind of low country, common sense point of view about things. And we're taking it to Nancy. That is for sure.
In that kind of common sense view, I know from people who I've spoken to in the first congressional district there, hate being gaslighted. Like when they're being lectured by MAGA Republicans saying that we are the ones who are going to fix the debt, when MAGA Republicans added $8 trillion to the debt. These are the arsonists who want to blame the firefighters and frankly view the voter as being so dumb and so stupid that they can be tricked with some culture war issue about Bud Light or bathrooms or something to ignore the fact that it was the MAGA Republicans' tax cut for billionaires that added $8 trillion to the debt with a T like Trump. Anyway, I will leave it there. Thank you so much, Michael Moore, for joining us. We will be following your campaign. I want to remind everybody as well to check out your website if they want to learn more about you, if they want to contribute to your campaign. That's michaelbmoore.com, michaelbmoore.com. Check out the website. You can learn more about Michael there. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's been an honor. Appreciate it.
Everybody, make sure you hit subscribe as we're on our way to 2 million subscribers here on the MeidasTouch Network, and have a great day.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.